You can start recording. All right, welcome to everybody who's watching the recorded version of the session as well. My name is Ben Bradley. I am one of the founders of AMO, and I am here to answer some of the questions that were submitted and just kind of run through some features of our site. And not only that, I know this orientation was for all students who actually have applied and have an accepted program, so that's great. I'm going to just clear up the process of what to do when you're accepted first, and then also, you know, if you're looking maybe for a different program or your preferences changed, I'll just run through this search one time here first, just so everybody understands the functionality of that. So here on our homepage, your top bar looks a little different than mine, but we can get to search this way, or we can get to search by clicking the big button. Okay, so you probably all use this unless we've created an account for you, an application for you, but you know, here you can make your basically your sorts. So maybe you want to sort by, you only want to go to New York, right? So you know, New York is loading. You'll see we've got a bunch of programs all over the state, but mostly in New York City here. Then you can do these things, you know, these tags, and these are pretty cool, right? Let's say, for instance, you want to go to only our featured programs, because when we feature a program, it's because we've heard really good reviews, it's really popular, good letters of recommendation. You can see here, okay, now we've got a more limited set, still a lot. We feel good about all these programs in New York, and then because you've all applied and been accepted, you know this process. I am going to, just for one moment here, take us to the dashboard and look at a program that I've already been accepted to, hopefully, if the dashboard loads. Okay, so you see this program here I've been accepted to. The next step is to kind of click in and see what you have to do to reserve that program. Again, you know, just because you've been accepted doesn't mean that the program spot is saved. You basically have to sign your terms and conditions here first, and then pay this reservation deposit just to reserve the spot. Now, I know for many students, a lot of them are worried about visa. This reservation deposit is refundable if your visa is denied, so long as you apply and reserve a long enough time in advance. So for this to be refundable, we ask that you reserve 90 days in advance, and you work with us on the visa process. Contrary to popular belief, we have had many students who are denied the first time, often because they don't have the correct documentation or they applied for the wrong visa, who, after they speak with us, we're able to kind of help them, get them the right documents, coach them for the interview, and they are granted a second time. So one of the cool things we've added, I'm not sure it's going to show up here, but rather than paying with PayPal, an external payer, once you've signed your conditions here, your terms and conditions, you can actually pay by credit card now right in our site, so you don't have to go to an outside source. And then, once again, this placement letter you can download. This is what you can bring to your school, what you can bring to your job to say, look, I've been accepted for this. If you give me the okay, we'll pay the reservation deposit and we'll proceed. For now, since we had a lot of questions, and I'm sure a lot of those questions are from people who unfortunately weren't able to come, and again, for anybody in the attendees, you know, who is attending, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. So let me just pull over here some of these. Okay, so we've got some questions here that were submitted. Let me see if I can share my webcam. Let me see. Okay, so you're seeing me now, and I will answer some of the questions for you. So it looks like we have quite a few, and I'll speak a little bit about some of them. If some of them aren't so clear, I'll just speak about some of the general things. And actually, we got a question in chat here about accommodation. So our fees do not include accommodation. However, when you reserve a program, we automatically generate housing options from our website through third-party providers. We've had a lot of success with working directly with certain Airbnbs. So what will happen is when you sign up and reserve, there will be a map below and it will show you all of the housing locations in your area. What you do is you pick a price range that you feel comfortable about. And if you still feel it's too high, often what we've done for students is students will come to us, say, here's the program listing I like, I've reserved, and here's the housing I want. And we will reach out to the host and say, okay, this is a medical student. They're going to be here for a long time. What can you do for a discount? And we've been really successful with that. So if you're concerned about accommodation, also that really plays into what spot you should go to in what location. So for instance, if you're worried about the budget and the costs, I wouldn't recommend New York for accommodation because New York is a very expensive city. A better location may be Chicago or Florida, where there's a lot of housing, Chicago especially. There's good public transportation. We're based in Chicago. We know it's a very popular city for international physicians and internationals in general. So if you are worried about accommodation, I would recommend that. That is really one of our top locations. So that kind of went over this first part of this question, but I will just speak a little bit about the first part. For the visa, we help students get B1 visas, which are B1 business traveler visas. Students can also get B1, B2 visas. That's really common. We have a whole set of resources that we give to students once they reserve a program, including our invitation letter. As of now, our visa success rate for our students is between 90 to 95%. So it really comes down to doing a good job in your interview, being completely truthful with the consular officer, making sure if you're a student that your dean writes a letter specifically stating that you're allowed to come for this rotation. That's really important. The consulate wants to see that you have a letter from your school that says the exact same thing that our letter says for the same month, because that's going to give them a lot of confidence that you're authorized to do this and coming back. We generally ask that students, if they want our full visa support, reserve a program at least 90 days or 3 months in advance. That allows us to get all the correct documentation set with you, give you all the resources, it also gives you enough time that if your visa is denied for a variety of reasons, we can work with you and work with the physician, depending on what was said in the interview. Maybe the consular officer wanted more documents. We can get you those more documents. We can work with your school. We can, put you in touch with an immigration attorney. We're also setting up a partnership with a company called Envoy, which all they do is visa support for companies and students. A lot of their clients are, for instance, Amazon, hospital chains, that sort of thing. Envoy has on-demand immigration lawyers, so that's a service that we can set you up with as well if you're a little more worried about that. But with any of these questions, if you have any other questions specifically about anything I've talked about, you can call me, you can email me to set up a time to talk on the phone. I'd be more than happy to kind of walk you through the entire process. So yeah, we'll leave that there. Next question, is it possible that even after payment, the assigned doctor may not be around prior to elective start date, leaving the student in an impromptu rotation organized by the coordinators, which could be in another specialty or city? So I know this is a big thing in the industry that students worry about. What we have done is all of our physicians are plugged into our online software, and as soon as a student reserves, they get a confirmation. If there was ever a problem, they would reach out to us immediately. In full transparency, these things happen when physicians have an emergency. So maybe one student every 2 or 3 months, their doctor has a family emergency or something like that. Generally, because of our system of checks, we don't have this happen like other groups do. And one of the great things about what we've done is every single program we have in a city, we have a backup program or a similar program, same specialties, academic physicians, inpatient time if it has that. We always have a backup in these cities. So we definitely do not switch anybody like that. And in general, just because our procedures and our operations are so, I would say we have so many checks along the line that this generally doesn't happen. It only really happens on physician emergencies. So that's one of the reasons why our company was invested in by the University of Chicago. That's one of the reasons why we have our Kaplan partnership and in the Saudi Arabian Cultural Mission, is because they know we've taken this model and we've tried to really professionalize it. We were students when we started this company. We know what students are investing to come here. In the end, we want this, and we believe in giving you something that's going to benefit you in your career. That's our mission. We want to help students, and we want to help students help the United States as well, because contrary to whatever's said out there in the media or anything, in the politics, the United States needs immigrants, and we need skilled physicians. So we're really behind the mission of that. Is when you come in, you want a program, we're going to do everything we can to get you that program, and we want to make sure that we have the correct checks and balances in to make sure that when you sign up for a program, you're getting that program. And I think we do that pretty successfully. Okay, which states are more IMG friendly? So let me see if we have a specific blog post about this. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm going to tell you that Illinois is very friendly. New York is somewhat friendly. I believe New Jersey is as well. Sorry, trying to get this to pop up on the side. Let's just look at this here. Okay, so we have IMG friendly specialties. Okay, this blog post, IMG friendly states. So you can see here, this is just by overall number of IMGs that matched. So a lot of this has to do with population, but New York, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Florida. Florida is a big one. Texas is a big one. New Jersey, Illinois. That's Chicago. Sorry, I got cut off there. There's an S. But you'll see a lot of the northern states. The two biggest states in the South are going to be Florida and Texas. Those are really popular with our students. California, that's another one. I would say out of all of these states, we have programs, a lot of programs in New York. We got a lot in Michigan, a few in Pennsylvania. We're working on that. Florida, we have a lot. Texas, we have a lot. New Jersey as well. Illinois, we're based in Illinois. So yes, Ohio, we're really trying to work on. We have actually a program that's affiliated with, it's run by a Cleveland Clinic residency attending in Miami. So if you're looking to do, surgery and things like that in Ohio and try to match there, if you got great step 1 scores, we can set you up with that. We've got some Massachusetts as well. I know a really good orthopedic surgeon, lots of California. And another takeaway from this, I think, just to kind of add to the overall understanding of how you get into these IMG friendly states. Let's say you have a program and you want to match in Massachusetts, but you can't find the exact correct program in Massachusetts on our site or with another company. If you match, or if you go to a program in New York, because it's so close to Massachusetts that the residency directors are going to know that they're going to have knowledge of that system. So for instance, we have a lot of physicians that work with Mount Sinai, right? If you wanted to somehow match into Mass General, if you had a letter from a physician who's a professor at Mount Sinai, that's still really going to help you. And this goes, all over the country. If you're with, even if you go to Chicago and you work with a Rush physician or something like that, directors are going to know those academic institutions. I would say in terms of getting to your IMG friendly state, what you want to prioritize is, number one, are you doing a program with a physician from a good hospital system? So your Mount Sinai's, your Montefiore's, any university system, any university's professor, any medical school professor, that's going to be good. The number two thing you want to think about is, okay, if I have an academic physician or a choice of academic physicians for this letter of recommendation or this program, you should pick the one that's going to be closer to the state that you want to match in. So if you get, let's say we got a great neurosurgery program in Detroit. If you're looking at the physician in Detroit versus our other great neurosurgery program in New York, if you want to match in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, you should probably pick the neurosurgery program in Michigan. And I can, if anybody has any questions about that, I can also, speak to you personally about, your goals and that sort of thing. Are the elective matches always 100% successful? If not, are there alternatives that AMO provides? So if we are getting a program for you and you're applying to a program, it's open. The key things that could block you are you not a valid student? 2, does your school, are they going to allow this for credit? And 3, is the timing correct? All of our programs, if you're reserving them and you're eligible, we're going to get you in there. It just comes down to, is your school going to accept it as an elective, or you're part of your internship year or something like that. We work with schools, so if you're worried about your school approving something as an elective, you can speak with us, send your coordinator to us, and we'll talk with them. Affordability is just, I assume this person's asking like, hey, is this affordable, or can this be made more affordable? I'm not going to pull up here because it's going to take too long, but we have programs, as low as $999. At that point, we can't really go much lower because we'd be losing money on actually paying physicians and paying our staff and paying the physician staff. The biggest cost for us and for the students is paying your preceptors. At a certain point, we would love to do it for lower, but physicians here are paid well and they expect to be compensated for their time. So we do have things like group discounts and multiple month discounts, finder's fees. If you can become a student recruiter for us, we can count, things off your price. We actually had a student one time recruited so many students for us that signed up that he got a free program. So there are many different ways to do affordability. Extending clinical rotations for more than a month. Yes, we can definitely do clinical rotations for more than a month. We often do 8 weeks or 12 weeks, 16 weeks. And the thing you want to do for that is just email us and say, hey, I want to do 2 months in a row. Then you go and you apply for, let's say, May and June. Then you tell us, and we'll actually give you a discount for signing up for multiple months, and an even bigger discount if you want to do 12 weeks or 3 months. So we definitely do that. Just give us an email and we'll set it up for you. Will the preceptors fill out the forms given to us by our school's dean? Yes, that comes down to whether when you want to use this as elective credit, you sign up for a program, apply, we'll accept you. Then you say before you reserve, hey, I'm trying to do this for elective credit. Can you confirm that this physician will fill out this form I have for credit? And you send us that form. And before you pay or reserve or anything, we will get confirmation from the physician that, if you do a good job or, if you're there, they'll fill out the form. And that way we know, and before you sign up and pay, this is going to be counted and the form will be filled out. So that's just something that you want to check with us before you actually pay the reservation deposit. Okay, so until what date do I have to sign the agreement? This person's starting in June. So generally we want all agreements signed, all payments made, all documents in at least 45 days before. There are programs that we can arrange last minute, but with hospital systems in the U.S., often they require documents 4 to 6 weeks in advance. We generally ask that students sign and pay the reservation deposit at least 60 days in advance. So we'll have 2 weeks to really walk you through all the required documents. Ideally, 90 days is best. So if you need a visa help, and we're 90 days out, we'll have plenty of time to get you through the visa process and all that. But it really comes down to the closer you get to your date in June, the less choices you're going to have in programs, because you're not, even though you're accepted right now, you're not actually, you haven't reserved the program. So another student could be accepted for the same program, you could pay the reservation deposit and close that program off to you. So it's really important. I would move forward and proceed as soon as you are able to, because then you'll have the best chance of getting the program that you really want. Okay, a question about the letter of recommendation. So the key, all of our physicians write letters of recommendation. For ethical reasons, we don't guarantee it. We believe that undermines all letters of recommendation for international students. But all of our physicians do agree that if students are on time, they put in a good effort, they stay very focused, that means you're not on your phone, and very communicative, you'll get a letter of recommendation. We actually have only had, I'd say, less than 10 out of 2,000 students not get a letter, and that's because they weren't showing up, they were sitting on their cell phone, they just weren't putting effort into the program. So I would say, don't worry about how great of a student or great of a doctor you are, worry about your personal effort. If you're putting in the time and you're polite and you're professional, and you communicate with your physician, you ask questions, you'll get a letter of recommendation. And then the second part of that question is how many hours are in the hospital per day. So each one of our programs has different amounts of hospital time. Some are entirely in the hospital. Some are 3 days a week in the hospital. Some of them are 1 to 2 days a week in the hospital, and some of them go to the hospital just when they have patients admitted. That's really common for pediatrics. What you want to do is you just want to make sure that you check to see in the program description, what does it say about hospital time? And then if you have any questions about hospital time, you can email us about that specific program. I'll say this, it's obviously it's great to go into the hospital, but in terms of your letter of recommendation and what is going to have the most value for your residency application, getting a strong letter of recommendation from a physician who is a teaching affiliated physician is going to be much better than going with just anybody who takes you into the hospital. What residency directors want, and we speak to a lot of them, they're on our advisory board, they want to see a letter from somebody who's a teacher, who's affiliated with a residency program or affiliated with medical school, saying that you came in and you did a good job, and here are their qualifications, professor at Mount Sinai. That's what you want to look out for. And then if you're concerned about the hospital time per day, it's going to say in every program how much hospital time there is, and you can always double check with us. What's the assurance that this program is genuine? So we have hosted now over 2,000 students in the U.S. We got an investment from the University of Chicago. We won a business competition. There's press out there for us. If you can check in the Chicago Tribune, Chicago Booth Magazine, University of Chicago is one of the top institutions in the United States, not just in healthcare. And I can actually show you here. Let me see. So first thing, we have these testimonials here on the bottom. These are all real students. We took their ending, the end of their last names off because for their privacy. But I'm not gonna show you any specific thing again here out for anonymity. But here are all our reviews, and you see a lot of 4s and 5s and 4s and 5s and 4s and 5s. Our average rating is a 4.6 out of 5 for our overall students and how they do, and I think that tells, because students, the best thing for us, our best marketing is when students have a good time and go out and tell their friends, and they come to us or they return. And additionally, I think when we do have programs whether students didn't get along with the physician, or there was some argument, or they felt like they didn't get what was in the program, we reach out to the student We have now a monitoring system throughout the entire program where you're getting emails from us checking in, making sure everything is okay. That's our customer success director, Kelly. In the first week, you'll be speaking with her to make sure you're getting everything you need. And then as you go along, she'll be, in touch with you too. Additionally, we have an orientation in the beginning. We'll work with you to make sure you get everything you need out of the rotation, like how to dress, how to behave, when to ask for your letter of recommendation, how to finish up the program, how to work with your school, all that stuff. We're really focused on building like the preparation aspect out into every one of our programs to make sure you get exactly what you need for that. And then, like I said, if something is going wrong in the program, we're going to speak with you. We're going to speak with the physician, figure out what's going on. If it's something that can't be fixed, like let's say you and physician got in an argument right away, we would move you if you wanted to be moved. And like I said, we have basically backup programs in every major city now. So for instance, if you were in New York with a Hofstra internal medicine physician, we've got another New York Hofstra internal medicine physician that you may get along better with. And then if it's something where you felt, let's say you didn't say anything until the end of the program, we would very often, we give students, if there's something wrong, we'll say, hey, come back for a program at half price or something like that. But again, going back to look at the reviews page, in the last 3 months, we've had, I believe, 163, 165 students come through. I think we've had 4 programs get less than a 3, and those were due to just students and doctors not getting along. That's kind of just the nature of people. Sometimes people don't get along. Most of our reviews are 4s and 5 stars out of 5. And I think that plays out in when those students leave. If you've probably talked to a student at your school that's gone with us, if not, we can put you in touch with somebody from your country or from your school that we know who's gone through us. We're confident in, we create these programs because we know what students are looking for, and we know it's a big investment for you. So we want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. I think we had one more question here about accommodation. So accommodation it varies city to city. So in New York, for some of our students, they want to be in downtown Manhattan and they want to be near Central Park. Accommodation for them can be, as much as $1,500 for the month. However, if we look in Chicago, where a lot of our students come and stay, we see accommodation for, $500. I would say on average, accommodation is between $500 to $1,000 with the true amount somewhere in the middle there. And what we do often for when students are worried about accommodation costs is we say come with a friend, because 2 people renting one space, generally you get a better deal on accommodation. So I think that's one way to get around that. And we can obviously, if you have a certain budget, you can email us and say, I'm working within this budget. Can you help me find a program and a location that's going to help me be able to, come here, work with a physician, get housing, afford to eat, get a letter of recommendation, and leave. We're, as much as we're here to provide the program, we're also here to advise you as much as possible. So unless anybody has any more questions, I think that about wraps it up. I'm just checking the chat right here. No, I think we're all set. So thanks, everybody. I will get this processed and recorded and sent out to everybody. And I will also try to make a list of when I answered each question. But I hope everybody has a good day or a good night, depending where you are. And again, if you have any more questions, email me at bradley@amopportunities.org, or you can just call our office. So thanks, and have a great day or night.